Of this evening. Our final speaker is the founder and CEO of Raffa, a 3-decade-old firm established in Washington, D.C., USA. Raffas are specialists who work on improving the infrastructure of non-profit organizations, thereby enabling them to have a better chance at accomplishing their mission. Our next speaker now will speak to us about his experience as a consultant who has enabled the most effective way of implementing CSR programs in companies. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Raffa.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Wake you up a little bit, huh? I always worry about doing this last. We have a staff meeting twice a year with all of my staff, and I'm the last one to speak, and my job is to be inspirational, but my job is also to be brief because I'm usually between them and the bar at the end of the evening. I think that's probably the case here tonight too, so we will be. But good evening, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. On behalf of the hosts and the fellow speakers, we're really all delighted you can join us. My name is Tom Raffa, and I'm going to spend about 20 minutes or so telling you a little bit about myself, my company, and my life, because in a lot of ways they're all sort of merged as one. My hope is that from the 20 minutes you'll leave this event with your perspective expanded, your vision, and a toolkit to work with some of these ideas enhanced a bit, and your spirits lifted. I want you to be optimistic about our ability to do more together toward the betterment of our communities and our planet. I'm the CEO and I'm a founder of several companies based in Washington that work throughout the world to be a catalyst for positive systemic change. This year, the oldest of the firms is going to be 30. Over these years, as we've evolved as a company and expanded our work, our own efforts to become better corporate citizens, we've realized how important it is to collaborate to support social betterment through our work with the nonprofit sector, what you call NGOs, as well as those businesses being proposed by the new wave of social enterprises that's occurring throughout the world. In our work to promote and advance such efforts, we've recently convened a couple of events in Washington and New York City these past few months with over 600 individuals and 500 businesses in attendance. The one in D.C. was focused on empowering the nonprofit sector. In 1984, as I worked to create a company whose primary purpose was to advance community, to fix social ills, the nonprofit sector throughout the U.S. and the world became my inspiration, my partner, and eventually our clients. Our partnership continues to thrive, as does our business, with almost 300 professionals within the Raffa company serving the community and working to advance the nonprofit sector by building their capacity to serve others. In New York City, we convened another large group made up of large nonprofit organizations along with social businesses, because more recently our Raffa companies have become involved in an integral part of a new form of business for good. While it's something we've practiced since 1984 in our efforts to provide over 10% of our gross revenues and services to others, and to allow our employees to spend as much time as they desire serving on boards of nonprofits and working in the community, it's just within the last decade that we've witnessed the concern for something bigger than money in so many other for-profit companies, both very large and those just starting out. And we've become the nurturers for the startups and the inspiration for the big guys. If Raffa can do what we can do and still get listed as not just one of the largest and more profitable, but more importantly, one of the best managed and best CPA firms in the United States each year, the metric for success we look on from the nonprofit community in 1984 does work in a for-profit model. And so the reason I'm here today, we're all living in a world that is undergoing unprecedented environmental and social changes. Rampant population growth is fueling ever-increasing demands for limited resources. Unpredictable extreme weather is affecting supplies of key commodities. Changing social conditions and expectations are driving both increased spending and social unrest. As we work towards sustainable value creation and capital-efficient growth, the opportunity to pursue innovative business models and deliver transformative solutions that can have deep impact on our societies and our planet has never been greater. But in general, outside the recent surge in social businesses or awareness, I believe much of the corporate leadership still run their companies in an outdated approach to creating value. Many CEOs value very narrowly and optimize short-term financial performance rather than working toward long-term sustainability. Success is measured each year, each quarter, every month, every day in a bubble, considering only the bottom line, while often missing the needs of our customers, our employees, our vendors, and yeah, our communities. If you don't believe this, there's an amazing statistic that says the average life of a Fortune 500 company is 40 to 50 years. Can these companies who work so hard for that single metric of financial success be said to be models for our sustainability? I speak often in the United States and throughout the world on the subject, and my speech is often a plea to corporate leaderships to do more. I work every positive angle I could possibly work, from guilt, it's just the right thing to do, folks, all the way to businesses' advantages with companies' participation in community. Those advantages include improved employee retention and recruitment through employee community engagement, extended brand equity and market differentiation for what you sell, through cause marketing. And yes, it's providing return on your philanthropic dollars. You can get a return on philanthropy. The competitiveness of our business and the health of our community that surround us are very closely entwined. So we need to learn to enhance the competitiveness of our companies by simultaneously advancing the economic and social condition in the communities in which we operate. I'm sorry, I got here and I got a sore throat, so it must be all that plane ride. This is not a dichotomy. It's the necessity to our sustainability as community directly resulting in the sustainability of our businesses within those communities. Communities are a natural resource for us. When communities are depleted, our businesses can't operate. In the US and other countries of the world, CSR has been forced on companies as a means to cure their image with the public rather than to support their communities and thus ultimately their success. They look on the little CSR they might do as an expense of doing business, not as their business, or at least as an integral part of their business. We're here today because India is the first country to mandate corporate philanthropy. Enforcing corporations to practice CSR through the court of public opinion is not the right answer. Can forcing all of you to pay 2% of your profit be really any better? Well, I think it really depends on each of you. I believe this to be an extraordinary opportunity for India, and ultimately, when it is successful, it'll be a shining example too, and a new model for other countries. But there's a lot of work to be done, and it starts here today. We have learned about corporate sustainability is that methods employed to get there are not so different between the private and public and nonprofit sector. Corporations need to explore more the models that are not new to nonprofits in the nonprofit community. How about giving your employees a sense of purpose, not just a paycheck? Work with suppliers to thrive in lieu of simply helping themselves to the best prices you can get from your suppliers. Ensure our customers and our clients work towards similar long-term sustainable goals. And just being what is now becoming known as a good corporate citizen, not because it's forced upon you by public opinion or by recent mandates in the law, but because it makes good sense for the health and the growth of your business, your employees, and those that you serve and those that serve you, and perhaps more importantly, to your community. And yes, it will improve the profitability of your business. Excuse me. So how did this get lost over all these years? Perhaps it's in the globalization of our economies. Perhaps it's because all companies consider themselves global. I'm a small firm in DC and I'm here today. But perhaps if you owned a small haberdasher in the town of 5,000 citizens, instead of an international consulting firm with 1,000 offices in a city of 5 million, you could see this connectivity. You might see that if a small society of 5,000 deteriorates due to poor educational institutions, limited access to health care, overpriced housing, the evidence that we see in our cities today like joblessness, drug abuse, homelessness, etc., would be more real to us. My sponsors have asked me to spend some time giving a few case studies to support my pleas. Perhaps that could be the toolkit that I referred to earlier. And there are so many of these case studies that we have, both personally with my own company and with other companies that we try to help to look toward corporate social responsibility as a part of their business, not just as a responsibility, but an opportunity. What I tried to do when I did this originally was talk about, like the other guests did, about what corporations do directly, either through nonprofits to get betterment back. But I thought, after hearing some of the speeches here today and where the position is of your organizations, maybe it's best to just talk about not the connectivity to nonprofits, but the connectivity to community as a whole, so that there can be work done within the communities without actually ever having to form these direct partnerships. Because the true impact is a collective impact. If communities cause community problems, communities need to fix them. And we can be the drivers for that as CEOs. So let me do this briefly so I can get you to the bar. One, producing goods and services to satisfy societal needs can lead to significant product innovation. How many of us here as corporate leaders have lost the most basic of questions? Is our product good for our customers? In our advanced economies, like in the United States, demand for product and services that most societal needs is rapidly growing. We're done of trying to sell deodorant to people that don't really care about deodorant, and we're thinking more about what are the needs of our society and how can we fix them through better product sales. We do a lot of food companies in the United States through Grocery Manufacturers and Food Marketing Institute, which are large trade associations. Food companies that years ago when I first started with these groups concentrated on taste and quantity to drive more and more consumption, are refocusing on fundamental needs for better nutrition. Intel and IBM, who we've worked with, are both devising ways to help utilities harness digital intelligence in order to economize on power usage. Wells Fargo's developed a line of products and tools that help customers budget, manage credit, and pay debt down. Sales of GE Eco-Magination, which are eco products for students, reached $18 billion in 2009. That's the size of a Fortune 150 company. In thinking about societal needs, whose whole avenues for innovation open up, and it can be said that communities' gains are even greater because businesses will often be far more effective than our governments and nonprofits at marketing that motivates customers to embrace products and services that create social benefits, like healthier food, educational products, and environmentally friendly merchandise. But I believe that even the greater opportunity may arise from serving disadvantaged communities in developing countries, like those we spoke about today in India. Through societal needs are even more pressing in places in developing countries, these communities have yet to be recognized as viable markets. Today, attention is riveted on India. In India, Thomson Reuters has developed a promising monthly service for farmers who earn an average of $2,000 a year. For a fee of $5 a quarter, it provides weather and crop pricing information and agricultural advice. The services reaches approximately 2 million farmers currently, and early research indicates that it has helped increase the income of more than 60% of them, in some cases even tripling their annual income. As capitalism begins to work in core communities, new opportunities for economic development and social progress increase exponentially. Meeting needs in underserved markets often requires redesigning products and different distribution methods. These requirements can again trigger innovation. They also have application in traditional markets. In the United States, through USAID, the development of microfinancing was had in a lot of our developing countries. That was brought back to our country recently, and now it's growing rapidly in the United States, where it's filling an important gap that was previously unrecognized. 2, improving the environment can make you money. Excess packaging of products and greenhouse gases are not just costly to the environment, but they're costly to our businesses. Walmart, for example, was able to address both issues by reducing its packaging and rerouting trucks to cut 100 million miles from delivery routes in 2009. It saved $200 million even as it shipped more products. Innovation in disposing of plastics used in stores have saved millions more in disposable cost to landfills. 3, working with suppliers is more than just good business. You know, in traditional business, we look to commoditize and exert maximum bargaining power on suppliers to drive prices down, even when we're purchasing from small businesses or substance-level farmers. But is marginalizing suppliers sustainable, and does it provide better profitability in the short term, or does it provide only profitability in the short term? Our suppliers cannot remain productive and sustain, much less improve their quality, through this kind of activity that we do to most of our suppliers. By sharing technology and providing finance, companies can improve suppliers' quality and product while ensuring access to growing volumes, improving productivity will often trump lower prices. As suppliers get stronger, their environmental impact often falls dramatically as well, which further improves their efficiencies. My friend Seth Goldman is a co-founder of Honest Tea. I'm not sure if Honest Tea is in this country, but Honest Tea was just bought by Coca-Cola a couple of years ago after Seth had started it. Seth found that obtaining reliable supplies of specialized tea to be extremely challenging, as most teas are grown by small farmers in impoverished rural areas, including India. And they're trapped in a cycle of low productivity, poor quality, environmental deprivation that limits production volume. Seth addressed these issues by simply redesigning procurement. Honest Tea works intensively with its growers, providing advice on farming practices. They guarantee bank loans. They help ensure plant stock, pesticides, and fertilizer. Local facilities have been built by Honest Tea to measure the quality of the teas at the point of purchase, allowing them to pay a premium for better teas directly to the growers, and thus improving the growers' incentive to grow better teas. Greater yield per acre and higher production quality increased growers' incomes, and the environmental impact of farms shrank. Meanwhile, Honest Tea gained a reliable source of good tea. I own coffee stores in DC, and we've used this model in Salvador, and it works. We simply pay some dollars to our friends, our friend nonprofits that work with the cooperatives that basically plant trees that provide fertilizer from the birds that nest in the trees. The roots keep the erosion from wiping out the mountain, and the trees provide shade to the crop. The crop has improved twofold since then. And unlike Starbucks that has to go all over the country to find the best prices, the cheapest prices, and shifts their markets, we've been able to take our market share and all of our product from one area in Salvador and lift the entire community up on those purchases. Finally, how about employees? It's very much overlooked. How many of you as CEOs focus on holding down wage levels, reducing benefits, and in our country, offshoring? These approaches may again provide short-term profits for your companies, but in my firms, I've always seen the long-term profits caused by the positive effects that living wage, safety, wellness, training, and opportunities for advancement for employees have on productivity. I work to help my employees find their purpose, and in so doing, my business thrives. So each year, one might seek to minimize the cost of expensive healthcare insurance, or even eliminate healthcare and other benefits completely. My health insurance cost rose 22% this year, and I chose to incur additional costs on dollars beefing up our wellness program instead of trying to cut back on health insurance. This is a long-term solution. The short-term solution would have been to just cut the costs of insurance. The long-term solution is to solve the problem of why insurance costs have gone up. And I've seen that because of lost workdays and diminished productivity, poor health costs much more than health benefits do. So Johnson & Johnson is a great example of this. By helping employees stop smoking, a 2/3 reduction in their past 15 years, and implementing numerous other wellness programs, the company saved $250 million on healthcare costs. It was a return of $2.71 on every dollar they spent on their wellness program for 2002 to 2008. Moreover, Johnson & Johnson has benefited from a more present and productive workforce. As my newfound friends that are hosting this event tonight can tell you. You get me started and I can go on and on and on. I have pages on what my company does and how our collaboration with government and with nonprofit organizations has advanced our business on a daily basis and well into the future. Employees stay because they find a sense of purpose. Clients come to us because they see a company that cares as much about the environment and our communities as I do about the bottom line. In fact, in our company, I care more about it. But I want to just take the next few minutes to tell you some facts about the new economy that I believe is happening and hopefully give you some ideas for your C-level toolkit. But now let's work on a little bit of inspiration. I want corporate leaders to recognize that social needs, not just conventional economic needs, they define markets. Therefore, social harms or weaknesses like underperforming educational systems create internal costs for our firms, such as the need for remedial training to compensate for inadequacies in education. Addressing social harms and constraints does not necessarily raise costs for our companies. Not if we can innovate through new technologies, operating methods, and management approaches, and as a result, increase our productivity and expand our markets. And not if we begin to think long-term sustainability and not short-term financial profits. But let me be clear. Community problems are caused by communities, not just businesses. And it's communities that must resolve them. Together, we need to have collective impact. It would not be fair to leave you today thinking that only our for-profit companies operate under a flawed model that needs revamping. Nonprofits and governments also miss the mark, as we heard tonight. They often see success solely in terms of the money expended or the numbers achieved. And as those of you that are a part of the government or the nonprofit sector begin more to think in terms of, as my friend Mark Kramer might say, shared values, the effectiveness of the outcomes of your efforts, your desire to collaborate with business must also inevitably grow. Businesses in India have not been charged a tax. You've been given a gift. And if we think in terms of simply paying our required percentage, we continue to operate our business in this very flawed and soon-to-be outdated model. As corporate leaders and as a country, you need not to simply think of the numbers of rupees given. We need to measure ourselves in terms of the results. Just like you would for any product or service in your business. Is your philanthropic work in partnership with your NGO and the government affecting positive and systemic change, sustainable change in your community, in India and throughout the world? And all business needs to follow your lead and step up to sponsor and advance this collaboration of communities. Capitalism is an unparalleled vehicle for meeting human needs, improving efficiency, creating jobs, and building wealth. I believe that business is the most important force in society, and it can and also must be a force for good. I believe the momentum is gaining as consumer culture is changing. We're seeing significant shifts within and across these sectors. We must see more effective nonprofits moving from dependency relationships to sustainable, capitalized organizations. And we must see more for-profits rethinking the traditional quantifiable business metrics and taking corporate consciousness to new levels. We all know that we need to strike a better balance. We all know that we need to put the value of profit, society, and environment at least on equal footings, and ensure that what we do today that meets our needs will not compromise the ability of future generations to meet their needs. This is what sustainability is all about. This is our challenge and our collective responsibility to leave the planet better than we found it. By collectively partnering with those that face the challenges of any particular social issue every day, our businesses can make an impact. We can fix social ills. We can change the world. Think about the fact that you will likely live longer than the company that employs you. I said our company is 30 years old this year, and there's a good chance it won't be around here when I die. But I believe the impact will, and there's a good I believe the impact will. And its legacy will surely outlive me, even though the organization may not. If it It's the small pebbles I drop each day into the waters of community that create big, big waves of change long after me and my company are gone. Let's make social and environmental responsibility, the needs of the many, our guideposts of success and true prosperity, not the financial bottom line. To do this, we need to harness the unique strengths and competitiveness we all bring to social responsibility efforts, and we can do this if we work together. This may not be the only way we stand a real chance of moving the needle on pressing issues in our community, but I believe it's the best way, and I believe it's why we're here. So for all of you, my name is Tom Raffa. I left business cards up here. You can always call me about some of these things and about some of the other case studies I didn't have time to go through. But I believe there's a higher purpose for me, for my companies that I run, and for my life. And my dream is that one day all companies will find this new purpose. Not only to be the best company in the world, but to be the best company for the world. I hope I've inspired each of you today to at least think about that possibility. Thank you all for coming.